Welcome back to another episode on Photoshop Basics series on Webtrickshome. Today we'll be learning how to master one of the most used tools in Photoshop, and that's the Paint tool. This is a great tool that comes handy whenever you need to make selections or create irregular shapes in Photoshop. This tool is highly used by professionals because it is highly accurate in making selections and cutting out objects, and possesses a greater flexibility in the sense that you can always go back and edit them. There are no alternatives to Paint tool when it comes to designing graphic arts and logos in Photoshop, and it's quite easy to use once you get the basics right. One more thing, I'm on a challenge to reveal my face once I reach 20,000 subscribers, so please do subscribe and help me reach the milestone faster if you are regularly watching my videos. And please do subscribe if you like the way I explain things. Help me get better through your invaluable comments, and don't forget to hit the like button if you like the video. Excited to learn about the Paint tool in detail? Let's get started. So, you can see the Paint tool right below the dodge, burn and sponge tool group that we learned in our previous video. Right click on it and you can see a couple of tools there. You have got two tools, Paint tool and Freeform Paint tool, that you can directly select from the keyboard using the shortcut key P. Hold the Shift key and hit P to toggle between them. Freeform Paint tool is basically a freehand form of the Paint tool, which is not much used. All the options available and the output will be similar to the Paint tool, but the Paint tool possesses a bit constraints while using. We'll see that in a short while. The rest of the tools are supporting tools for the Paint tool, and we can use them with the keyboard shortcuts all the time. Let's select the Paint tool, and with the Paint tool selected, you can see a couple of options on the options bar. Let's go through them first. The first option allows you to choose between a shape or path that you want to create with the Paint tool. Pixel option is grayed out here as it only works with the vector graphics. We'll see what vector and raster is in a short while. Path is basically an outline with no color fillings, while shape is an outline with colors and borders allowed. Moreover, shape will be added on a separate layer in the layers panel, while path don't take up any layer space. Let's work on the path first. That'll make it easier to learn the basics. Then you have got a couple of options which are grayed out unless you create a path on the workspace. Then you have got a couple of options to add a new outline, combine one with the existing ones, subtract, intersect or exclude. Since the Paint tool is mostly used to make selections in the path mode, these selection options are available here. We already talked about these options in our selection tutorial, right? Then you have got a couple of alignment options that you can use to arrange the paths in relation to each other, as we do with the Move tool. Then you have got a couple of reordering options which you can use to reorder the position of multiple paths if they are overlapping. Then you have got the rubber band option, and that allows you to view the outline before it is actually created. Let's take it off and see how it works. So, with the Paint tool selected in path mode, click on any area within the document and that will create a point which we call anchor point. Click on another area and you can see another anchor point with a straight line joining those two anchor points. It's great while drawing straight lines, but if you are drawing curves, you won't get any reference on how the curves will look like with the rubber band checked off. Had you selected the rubber band and clicked on the document, a line would have followed the movement of your mouse, showing you exactly what the output is gonna look like. Go on clicking on different areas and the anchor points will go on adding up along with the outline. And a line is attached to your cursor that will stay attached unless you go back to the first anchor point and click on it. You can see a small circle right below your cursor when you reach the initial point. That denotes the path is going to be completed if you click on that point in your workspace. So you get your first path created here, but what if you need a path that is not closed? Well, that's easy. Create a path. Let's say this is the path. It requires at least two anchor points. Then simply hold the controller command key and click away from the outline, and you're done. You can easily create paths with no closings too. You can also continue working on an existing path. Simply move your mouse close to the anchor point and you can see the connection icon right below your pen cursor. Click at that point and you can continue working from there. If you want to create a new path, simply leave that outline with the controller command key and start from a new point. Look at the symbol below the pen cursor. A star denotes a new path. You can also create a perfect straight line, simple curves or complex curves with the Paint tool. Let's have a look on how to create a straight line first. If you want to draw a perfect straight line, add an anchor point, hold down your Shift key and move your mouse. You can see a perfect straight line showing up. Move your mouse up and down and you can see it stays at 180 degree, 45 degree or 90 degree only. Let's complete the path. It's not closed, but that's not important at the moment. We'll see how to close such paths in a while. Let's move on to create curves. Create an anchor point. Then instead of just clicking on another area to add another anchor point, click and drag a mouse to another direction and you can see a simple curve is created. And with the curve creator, you can see a handle on either side of the anchor point. The first handle influences the curve of the outline right before the anchor point, and the second handle influences another outline that's gonna be added afterwards. And you can see how the curve is created. The length and the direction of the handles influences the degree of curve. You can hold the controller command key to move the anchor point or the handles. And if you want to manipulate the curve, you can hold the Alt or Option key on your keyboard and drag the handle to the direction you want to move. And if you don't want a curve, you can simply click to add a corner point. So that's how you can create irregular shapes using the pen tool. You can also add a new anchor point to your existing path or delete the anchor points. If you can't see the anchor points on your path, you can go to this tool group and select any one of the path selection tools to make the anchor points displayed. Basically, the path selection tool allows you to move the path, whereas direct selection tool allows you to move anchor points individually. Alternatively, you can simply hold a controller command key and click on the outline and you can see the anchor points. Keep the auto add or delete anchor point on the options bar checked for that. Then, if you move your mouse over the outline at any point where there is no anchor point, you'll see a plus symbol on your cursor. Click on the path and you can see a new anchor point is added. And if you move your mouse over any existing anchor point, you'll see the minus symbol on your cursor. Click on the anchor point and you'll get that deleted from the path. One more option we've got is to convert the anchor point type from corner to curve or curve to corner. Move over any anchor point and hold your Alt or Option key. You'll see the cursor change to an angle. Click and drag a mouse to convert a corner to a curve. And if you want to convert a curve to a corner, all you need to do is click on the anchor point only. You can also find dedicated tools to add, delete and convert anchor points in the pen tool group though. And with the path tool, you can see there's nothing displayed on the layers panel, and that's because it has got its own separate tab here. You can see the path here. Let's delete it for now. So these are the basics you need to know about the pen tool. Let's try to create some paths to get better on it. Let's create a rectangle first. Hold the Shift key to get a perfect straight line. Go on to add points. Well, the start and the end point didn't meet. Hold the controller command key and click on the first anchor point. Now you can drag it a bit left. Let's select the last anchor point and bring it a bit down to place them at the same point. And that's what we could have done with the direct selection tool as well. Got it? So the straight line is quite easy. Let's create a curvy shape then. Let's try to create a heart. Let's add a point here to create the first curve. Let's break the handle to make the task easier. Hold the Alt or Option key and click and drag the handle. We need a pointed corner at the bottom, so just click to add an anchor point and move on. Let's add another point here to make the line a bit curved. Let's break this handle too and close the path. That's not perfect, so let's modify it to our liking. Hold the controller command key to see the anchor points. Play with the handles to make it look more like a heart. You can see it's a bit pointed here, so let's convert the anchor point. Hold the Alt or Option key and click and drag the mouse to make it a curve. You might need to play a bit with the points to make it look more symmetrical. Well, that's more like a heart now. Let's move on to create a circle then. All you need to do is make all the anchor points curvy to get a circle. It would be quite tough initially, but later you can make it with greater ease. But mind it, you are making these shapes just to get better on the pen tool. You already have a better option to create rectangles, hearts or circles if needed. That we'll see in our shapes tutorial. Well, that's close to a circle. Let's create a wave then, and that should be easier by now. Now we have multiple paths. We can align them in relation to each other. Select one of the path selection tool. Select a path. Hold the Shift key and click on the outline of another path. You can see both paths are selected here. Alternatively, hold the controller command key and select one path. Then hold the Shift key along with the controller command key and click on another path to make multiple selections. The first option would be more convenient, right? Then click on the alignment option and check out how these alignment options work. You can also distribute space between them horizontally or vertically if 3 or more paths are selected. Then here's the constraint path dragging. Let's see how it works. Let's select the path selection tool and move these paths a bit first so that you can have a clear view. Let's select the direct selection tool, and with that, you can directly move an anchor point, right? And with the constraint path dragging, you can limit the manipulation of the single path between 2 anchor points without affecting other paths. While if you try the same without checking on the constraint path dragging option, you can see dragging one section affects the other 2 sections joined with those anchor points. Let's do it again with the constraint path dragging option checked on, and you can see only a single section is affected. Let's select the pen tool again and select one of the paths. And once a path is created, you can see more options here on the options bar. You can create a selection area from the path, or you can also convert it into a shape. Click on the selection option to create a selection. You'll get the option to define feather radius if you want to. Hit OK, and you can see a selection is made out of the path. You can see the moving ends on the path that denotes a selection is made. And if you select the Make Shape option, you can see your path filled with the foreground color, and the shape appears on a new layer in the Layers panel. Alternatively, you can right-click on one of the paths and you'll see a couple of options. The vector mask option is unavailable for background layer. If you had another layer, then you could add a vector mask to that layer as well. Then you can delete the path. You can create custom shape that we'll talk about in our shapes tutorial. You can fill in color inside the path. You can fill it with foreground color, background color, or any other color along with some patterns, or you can get more options. We learned it in our selection tutorial, right? You can add stroke, that's the border around the path as well. And you have got the option if you want to add the stroke with the pencil tool effect or the brush tool effect. Brush tool is mostly used here, and you can see the result. And that is mostly affected by the existing settings on the brush tool. You can also freely transform the path as well. Now, you have learned all about the pen tool in path mode. Let's try to make a selection to cut out an image that's called tracing in Photoshop. We'll be working on this image, and you can find the link to download the image in the description. Start from one point and follow the outline. You can create a curve with a click and drag, right? You can always go a step back with Ctrl or Command Z if you are not happy with the curve. Break the handles with the Alt or Option key and point it towards the area you want to move if the path is going another way. Simply click and move forward if you want a corner instead of a curve. Remember, you can hold the Ctrl or Command key and drag the anchor point or the handles if you need to. And with the pen tool, lesser the anchor points, better the output. So try to cover as much of a curve as you can. Continue making selection unless you reach the initial point and close the path out. So the path is completed. You can turn it into a selection and cut it out. But before that, I like to duplicate the layer so that we can use it for other purpose as well. Then add a layer mask of the selection to one of the layers. Hide the background layer. And you can see how good a cutout it appears to be. And there's no denying to the fact that no other selection tools can cut out any image to such perfection. And one more thing, if you want to cut out hair, pen tool is not the tool you would like to go with. You can see my previous video on removing background if you are dealing with cutting out objects with flying hair. So that's all about the path mode and pen tool. Let's see the shape mode then. That must be easier by now. And with the shape mode, you'll get a couple of different options on the options bar. The fill option allows you to choose a color to fill the shape you're gonna create. You've got some colors on the swatches here. You can go with one of them, or you can click here to select different color. If you don't want any color, you can select this icon. Then you have got the option to load solid color on the swatches. Then you have got the gradient options here. And you have also got patterns option to fill in the shape. Let's select a solid color for now. Then you have got the stroke option. You know it adds a border, right? Then you have got the thickness of the stroke here. Let's create a shape first. Then you have got the stroke style. You can go with a solid straight line or a dashed one or even a dotted one. Then you have got the stroke alignment options. You can opt to place the stroke inside the outline, outside the outline, or half inside, half outside. Then you have got the stroke caps option to define the endpoint of the stroke. Either you want it to be circular, square, or a projecting one. That doesn't make any difference in a closed path, but you can clearly see it in an unclosed one. Thicker the stroke, better it will be visible. Then you have got the corners option. Either you want a pointed corner, circular one, or an embossed semicircular one. Click on more options to modify the default settings. You can also define the length of the dash line and the gap between the dashes if you want to work with a dash stroke. Then you have got the width and height properties of the shape created. You can increase or decrease the values from here. And if you were working on some regular shapes with the shape tool, you could have entered the values here and the shape would be created. We'll see that in our shape tutorial. That's next on the sequence after the type tool tutorial. Then just like the selection options, you can opt to add multiple shapes in the same layer or subtract or exclude overlapping areas. You can also align them in relation to each other with the alignment options. Then you have got the reordering options, and you also have got align edges option to perfectly align them to the pixel grids. If you go to Windows and select Show Pixel Grid and All, you can see your shape is in line with the pixel grid. Hit Ctrl or Command H to hide or show these grids. Let's delete this layer. And with the pen tool in shape mode, you are always creating a vector shape, which means it is created using some mathematical algorithms instead of filling up color details in each pixel. The advantage of a vector layer over the raster normal layer with the pixel details is that you can resize a vector layer to any size, higher, lower, or back and forth. You'll never lose the details. You can see here the shape is not pixelating. But if you do the same to a raster layer, let's say this image, if you downsized it and then try to increase its size, it's always going to pixelate. That's because while downsizing, the overlapping pixels are compressed to generate average values from the details of the merged pixels. But when increasing the size, the image had already lost its previous details and the new details created thus is scaled up, and hence the image tends to lose its quality. You can still change the fill or stroke values of a shape from here, or you can double click on the shape icon on the layers panel and select a color from the color picker that appears. Alright. And with each shape created, a work path is also added to the Paths tab. Got it? Now you have learned about the shape mode in details. Let's use your knowledge so far to create a vector art. I'll work on the same image we used before. Let's lock it up and hide it. Make a copy of the image. Now all you need to do is trace each of the objects individually. But this time, instead of the path mode, we'll be working on the shape mode. Let's set the fill and stroke to no color as of now. That will make it much easier to trace objects. Let's move it below the image layer so that it doesn't interrupt the view. Fill it up with a color. And you can see how it looks. Let's rename it as cap. Now work on the hair then. Change the fill color to your liking and move it below the cap layer. So you got the idea, right? Now let's work on each part one by one. It might not look nice at the beginning, but don't worry, we can always fix them later. It's always a good idea to name the layers and group related layers together so that you don't need to spend a huge amount of time just for searching the right layer later. I'll rev up the frame rate from here and get back to you once I complete all the areas. Enjoy. So it's close to completion now. You can add separate shapes for each highlights and shadows on the document. That will add more depth to your art. So you have done almost everything right so far, but still it looks a bit incomplete, right? And that's because we're missing all those highlights and shadows in the image that go unnoticed as a viewer. But as an artist, you need to go in further details to upgrade your skill. Let's select the image layer that's above the vector layers. Go to Image, Adjustments, Posterize. Select a level that best fits your view. I'll go with 4 here. And then again trace all those highlights and shadows. Once you're done, you can play with the fill colors to best fit your preference. And when you're working with so many layers, sometimes you might accidentally place layers here and there. You can always reorder them. Don't get scared to try out different colors. Play with the opacity on the highlights and shadows if needed. So here's the original image, and here's the vector art we just created. Well, that's all for today. I hope this video really helps you to a greater extent to master the paint tool. Hit like if you found this video useful. If you think you have some ideas that can help me to get more better videos, share it through the comments. Let me know what you feel about the video through the comments as well. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe us for more videos. Thank you.